Chapter 1. Ewan's Perspective. I'm awake before Bones moves, but I keep my eyes closed and listen. He goes to Ego first. He always goes to Ego first. And I think that's kind of him, letting Ego be the first one up, the one who gets everyone else moving. Ego needs that. He carries so much, my cousin by blood but brother by trial, and he carries it badly sometimes, all clenched jaw and pretend confidence, but he carries it. The least the rest of us can do is let him. Ewan, up. I make a show of groaning and untangling myself from the blanket. Muley is pressed against my back like a furnace with legs, and leaving her warmth is genuinely the hardest part of every morning. She lifts her head, gives me a look like I've personally betrayed her, then heaves herself up too. I know, I tell her quietly. I don't want to either. Outside, the cold is sharp enough to taste. I find George by the cold fire pit and watch him without watching him. The way he shifts his weight off his left foot, the careful way he laces his boots over the rag wrappings. His feet are worse than he's saying. They've been worse than he's saying for 4 days. How are they? I ask quietly, so the others don't hear. Fine. George, they're fine, Ewan. They're not fine. But George doesn't complain. He just grinds himself down to nothing and calls it fine. So it falls to me to notice. Tonight, I decide. Tonight I'll get Bones to look at them whether George likes it or not. Damian is with the dogs. He glances up as I come over and tilts his head at Muley in that way he has, half greeting, half question. She moving all right? She's good, I say. Spoiled, but good. His mouth does the almost smile. Damian and I don't need many words. We never have. He's not my brother by blood, but blood seems like a small technicality at this point. We've slept back to back in the cold for months. That counts for more. Bones organizes the marching order. Damian leading, George second, Ego in the middle, me at the back near Bones himself. Ego bristles at being told where to walk. Of course he does, and Bones explains it so reasonably that there's nothing to push against. I like watching Bones do that. He never wins an argument. He just makes the argument unnecessary. Stay where I can see you, he tells me, and falls in beside me, and I'm not going to pretend I don't feel safer for it. Walking gives you time to think, and my thoughts go where they always go, through everyone, one at a time, like checking stitches. Ego, middle of the line, head on a swivel. He didn't sleep well. I heard him turning half the night. He'll never say he's scared, so somebody has to know it for him. That's me, I suppose. That's fine. I look up at his back on the trail ahead and feel steadier just for him being there. He doesn't understand that about himself. He thinks leading means knowing things. It doesn't. It means everyone else can be braver because you went first. George, limping in a way he thinks is invisible. Tonight. Definitely tonight. Damian, ranging ahead with Bud, both of them reading the mountain like a page. He found me an hour of sleep 2 nights ago by quietly taking my watch and not mentioning it. I haven't figured out how to pay that back yet. And Bones, walking beside me with that economy old soldiers have, no motion wasted. Question, I say. Yesterday, when you packed Damian's hand with that grey moss. Why that, and not a bandage? Moss drinks the wet out of a wound. Cloth holds it in. Wet wounds go sour. Go sour how? What's actually happening inside? He glances at me sideways. He gets a particular look when I ask these things, like he's checking whether I really want to know or I'm just filling silence. Rot's a living thing, he says finally, gets into the flesh and feeds, keep a wound dry and clean, and it starves before it settles in. How do you know all this? Battlefields, you learn fast, or you watch men die of scratches. I file it away with everything else. Willow bark for fever, pressure above a cut not on it, the sour, sweet smell that means a wound's going bad. I've started keeping it all sorted in my head, like a book I'm writing without paper. Because here's the thing I haven't said to anyone yet, not even George. In a city of 200,000 people, somebody has to know how to make hurt people better. There are men who do that for a living. Doctors, healers, people whose whole job is what Bones does with moss and bark, and calm hands. I think I want to be one. I think I've maybe always wanted to be one, and just didn't have a word for it until I met an old soldier who could stop bleeding with his thumbs and the right kind of quiet. "You're storing all this up," Bones says. "Not a question. Is that all right? It's the most sensible thing any of you has done in 2 weeks." From Bones, that's practically a parade. The sun breaks over the peaks behind us just as we round a bend, and the whole line stops. Banic. I forget about feet and moss and fear, all of it, because nothing in my head prepared me for this. 3 great walls, one inside another, rising in rings like something a giant built. The inner one catches the dawn and glows gold, and spilling down the hillside below the walls, houses, thousands of them, smoke threading up from more cook fires than I can count. "Oh," Ego says. 200,000, Bones says. "Maybe more now, with the refugees." He points to great sprawl of tiny homes spilling north in a sprawl. I try to hold the number and can't. So I do what I always do with things too big to hold. I break it apart. 200,000 people means babies being born down there right now, means people dying down there right now, means somewhere in that sprawl, at this exact moment, somebody is sick and somebody is mending them. Or nobody is mending them because nobody knows how. "Fuck," George says. "The shantytown," I say slowly. "That's outside that long wall." "That's where people like us go," Bones says, "until you earn your way inside, or don't." I look at the sprawl and I don't feel what I expect to feel. I expect terror. And it's there underneath, but over top of it is something else. All those people, all that need. A place that big must have room in it for a boy who knows what moss does to a wound. Ego starts listing our skills, trying to sound sure, and trails off when he gets to himself. And George says, "You can lead," and Ego doesn't believe him. He should. I'd follow him off this mountain into anything. I'm about to. "Can we just look at it for a minute?" I ask, "before we go down there and everything changes?" Bones gives us 5 minutes. We stand there, 5 humans and 6 dogs, and I memorize it, the gold light, the smoke, Muley's shoulder against my knee, Ego's silhouette in front of me. Whatever happens down there, I want to keep this, the moment before. Then the path gets narrow and I stop being brave. It happens the way it always happens. Everyone else just goes. Damian crosses like the ledge is a road. George inches across with his back to the rock, slow and stubborn. Ego freezes once, halfway. I see it, see his hands shake, and then makes himself move. Because that's what Ego does. He's not fearless. He just refuses to let fear win in front of us. I love him for that. I also cannot do what he just did. I look at the ledge, 2 feet of crumbling stone, a cliff face on one side and on the other a drop that my mind insists on measuring in detail because my mind is a traitor. Can't do it. "Yes, you can," Ego calls. "It's easy, just did it. You're braver than me." I'm not brave, I just go. Don't think, just go. But that's the whole problem. I can't not think. Thinking is the only thing I'm good at, and right now it's killing me, feeding me every way this ends with my body at the bottom of the drop. George tries logic. Damian watches, patient, ready to come back across for me. I can see him deciding it, and somehow that makes it worse, that he'd risk the ledge twice for me. Then Bones steps up beside me. He doesn't touch me, doesn't crowd me, just stands there, calm as Sunday. "You charged that bear." That was different. How? I was more scared of running away than being eaten. Then be more scared of staying on that side than crossing, because I'm not carrying you and we're not going back. From anyone else, it would be cruel. From Bones, it's a hand on the scale. He knows exactly how my mind works, knows it needs a bigger fear to push against the smaller one. He's not bullying me. He's prescribing. I take a breath and step onto the ledge. The world narrows to 2 feet of stone and the cold rock against my back. One step, another. I count them because counting is the only prayer I know. Halfway across, my foot slips. And Muley is there. My stupid, beautiful, fearless dog has come back across without anyone asking, pressing her whole solid body against my legs like a wall between me and the drop. Her heartbeat through my shins, something alive and warm and certain. "Okay," I whisper, "okay." We finish it together. On the far side, I sit down hard in the dirt and put my arms around her neck, and she leans into me, smug as anything. Hate this, I mutter. Hate mountains, hate cliffs, hate everything. You did good, Ego says. I almost died. But you didn't. That's what counts. I glare at him, but later, walking, I turn it over and decide he's accidentally right. But you didn't might be the only philosophy that's going to survive where we're going. We reach the Shepherd Caves before sunset. Dead Man's Crossing, Bones calls it, and refuses to explain, which is its own kind of mercy. George builds the fire. Damian vanishes and comes back with a rabbit, looking quietly pleased with himself, and I bump his shoulder with mine as he passes, which is most of a conversation between us. Then I make my move. Bones, George's feet. Ewen, George starts. 4 days, I say. You've been favouring the left for 4 days, and the wrappings were bloody this morning, and if it goes sour up here, there's no one to help you, so sit down and stop being ego about it. Hey, says Ego from across the fire. George sits down, mostly because Bones is already crouching in front of him with that look that ends discussions. I kneel beside Bones and watch everything. The way he unwinds the wrappings slow so they don't tear the scabs. The way he reads the blisters, which ones to open, which to leave. He hands me the water skin and has me wash while he works, and narrates, low, just for me. See how this one's gone white at the edges? That's the skin dying. Has to come off or it festers. George hisses and bears it. Ego hovers behind us, pretending not to hover. He's all right, I tell Ego, because somebody should. 2 more days and then we're off the mountain and he can rest properly. I'm right here, George says. You're right here with 3 burst blisters and 1 that was about to abscess, so you don't get a vote anymore. Abscess, Bones repeats, with something almost like amusement. Where'd you get that word? You, 6 days ago, the sailor story. He looks at me a moment longer than usual. Then he goes back to George's foot and shows me how to wrap it so the pressure sits across the arch instead of the wound, and lets me do the second foot myself, his hands hovering near mine, correcting nothing because nothing needs correcting. It's the best I've felt in months. Later, the fire low, everyone settling. Bones sits staring at the city lights with a look on his face I can't read. And I'm good at reading faces. Not sadness exactly, something with more years in it. Ego tries to dig at it. You've been there before, why'd you leave? And Bones deflects. And Ego lets it go because he's tired. I don't dig, but I lie there with Muley curled against my side and think about it. Whatever Bones left behind in Banic, he's walking back toward it for our sake. An old man with no reason to drag 4 boys and 6 dogs across a mountain, doing it anyway. Ego doesn't trust him. I know he doesn't, and I understand why. After everything, trusting anyone feels like leaving a door unlocked. But I watched those hands on George's feet tonight, careful, certain, kind in the way that doesn't announce itself. I trust him. Maybe that makes me a fool. Ewen the fool, who almost died on a ledge and got rescued by his own dog. But somebody in this family has to do the trusting, the same way Ego does the leading, and George does the enduring, and Damian does the watching. We each carry what we can. Muley sighs against my ribs. Across the fire, George's breathing finally evens out into real sleep. Ego's still awake. I can tell by his stillness, which is different from his sleeping stillness. Lying there worrying about all of us. So I do what I can carry. Ego, I whisper, we're going to be all right. A pause. You don't know that? No. But you didn't die today, and George's feet are clean, and Damian caught a rabbit, and tomorrow we'll see the city. That's not nothing. Another pause. Longer. Go to sleep, Ewen. But I hear it in his voice. The small unclenching. Good enough. The fire crackles. The dogs snore. Somewhere below, 200,000 people are sleeping and being born and dying. And one of them, someday, might be glad a boy from the Hackett Hills learned what moss does to a wound. I hold on to that and sleep. Chapter 2. Damian's Perspective. The wind changed an hour before dawn. That's what wakes me. Not Bones moving, though I hear that too. The wind. It's been coming out of the west for 2 days, sea wind chasing us up the mountain, and now it's swung north and gone dry. Mountain wind, cold with no salt in it. We're on the other side now. Truly. Bud lifts his head when I lift mine. We don't need more than that. I put my hand on his ribs and feel his heart going slow and even, and we lie there together listening to the camp. Bones is up, moving quiet for an old man. He goes to Ego first. He always does. I've thought about why, and I think it's the same reason you let the lead dog believe he chose the trail. It works better. Everyone pulls. Ewen is awake too, pretending he isn't. I can tell by his breathing. Ewen's sleeping breath whistles a little. His pretending breath is too careful. He does this most mornings, lies still so Ego gets to be first up. He thinks nobody notices. I notice. That's mostly what I do. Damian, I'm already moving. The dogs first. Always the dogs first. I go down the line in the dark, hands doing the looking. Pads, ears, ribs. Bud's fine. Bud's always fine. Rabbit has a tick behind her ear, swollen up like a currant. I get it out whole and crush it on a stone. Muley's left front pad has a crack starting, dry cold doing it. I rub a little of the rabbit fat I've been saving into the pad, and she lets me, watching my face the whole time the way she watches Ewan's. If a dog goes lame up here, we carry it or we lose it. So the dogs come first. Bones never had to tell me that. It's just true. My hand aches where the rock split it open 2 days back. Bones packed it with grey moss off the north side of a boulder, told Ewen why, and let me listen. It's knitting clean, doesn't smell, doesn't weep. He knows things, the old man. He knows them the way I know things, from touching them, not from being told. That's why I follow him. Not trust exactly. Trust is for later, but a man who reads moss can read a trail, and a man who reads a trail is worth walking behind. Ewen comes over and asks about Muley without asking, just tilts his chin at her. I tilt mine back. She's good. He bumps something about her being spoiled. The corner of my mouth goes up before I decide it should. Ewan's the only one who talks to me like silence is an answer. Everyone else fills it. He just leaves the space and lets me put what I want in it. We've been doing that since before the fire, since before everything, and I don't have a word for what he is to me except the one that's already taken by blood. Doesn't matter. Words are the smallest part of anything. Bones sets the order. Me in front, Ego bristles. Not at me, at being placed, and Bones talks him down so smooth, Ego ends up agreeing to the thing he was against. I watch it happen the way I'd watch a man gentle a spooked horse. There's a skill in it. Ego doesn't see the hand on his neck. Maybe that's fine. The horse gets where it's going either way, and the horse doesn't get hurt. I take point with Bud, and the trail opens up in front of me, and for a while it's the best part of the day, because out front there are no people. Just the mountain telling me things. Scree slope, 2 days of frost in it, don't trust the edges. Marmot whistle high left, means nothing's hunting up there, means the path is empty. Old goat sign, pellets gone pale, a week at least. Bud's nose going steady side to side like a scythe, and nothing catching in it. Quiet mountain, good mountain. Behind me I hear the others, I don't have to turn around to know them. George's step is wrong. Has been for 4 days, left foot landing flat, taking it on the heel edge, the way you walk on a blister you've decided to ignore. He thinks he's hiding it. He's hiding it from Ego, maybe. Not from me. Not from Ewen either. I've seen Ewen watching George's boots like they owe him money. Ewen will deal with it. Ewen deals with the people. That's the order of things. I keep the trail and the dogs. Ewen keeps the boys. George keeps going. Ego keeps us pointed somewhere. It works. It shouldn't, 4 boys and an old man and 6 dogs, but it works. Ego's step behind George is heavy and uneven. Didn't sleep. He turns over hard when the worry gets him, and last night the worry had him most of the dark hours. Today he'll be short with everyone, and then sorry about it, and Ewen will say something small at the right time, and Ego will come back to himself. I've watched it happen a dozen times. I look at Ego sometimes, out front when no one can see me looking back, and I think, I could not do what he does. I could lead them down a mountain. I could not lead them while they watch me, all of them, all day, taking their fear and putting it somewhere. He does it badly some days. He does it anyway every day. Bud would follow me off a cliff. That's one dog. Ego's got all of us, and we're not dogs, and we follow anyway. That's harder than reading a trail. I smell the city before I see it. Smoke first, but wrong smoke, not one fire, not 10. A smell like 1,000 hearths braided together with dung and fish and tanneries and something underneath all of it, dense and human. Bud's hackles lift, then settle. He doesn't know what it is either. Then we round the bend and I stop, and the line stops behind me. Banic. I don't have numbers for it the way Ewen does. I hear Bones say 200,000 and the number slides off me. What I see is this. 3 rings of wall like growth rings in a stump, oldest in the middle. The middle one is built of better stone, tighter joints. Built slow, built by people with time. The outer wall is hastier, built scared, and outside even that, spilling down the hill like water finding its level, the shantytown. Built out of nothing by people who had nothing. You can read a wall like you can read a man. Oh, Ego says. Fuck, George says. Ewen says something about the shantytown being outside the walls. His voice does the thing it does when he's already 3 steps ahead into worrying. Me, I'm watching the birds, kites and crows, hundreds of them, turning over the city in slow wheels. Where there's that many scavengers, there's that much waste. That much waste means that much food. It's an ugly way to know a thing, but it's trucy. Nobody starves to death in a city with fat crows. They die of other things instead. I keep that to myself. Most of what I know stays where it's useful, which is in me. Ewen asks for a minute to just look, and Bones gives it, and I spend my minute looking at the land instead of the city. The hills around it. Where the streams come down, with large rivers coming from both east and west. Where a boy and a dog could get out fast if it all goes wrong. There's willow-choked land in the east, runs from the shanty sprawl up into broken country and into the hills to the west. Good. Every place needs a back door. Now I have one. The ledge is nothing. I want to say that plainly because of what happens after. The ledge is 2 feet wide and 30 paces long, and the stone is dry and the wind is low. I cross it the way I'd cross a room, Bud at my heel, and on the far side I turn around to watch the others, because that's when ledges kill people. Not the crossing. The watching others cross and not being able to do anything. George goes slow with his back to the rock. Smart. Ugly, but smart. Igo freezes in the middle. Just for a breath. I see his hands, then he makes himself move. He does this thing where he gets angry at his own fear, uses the anger like a handhold, and he's across, breathing hard, pretending he isn't. Then Ewen. Ewen looks at the ledge and I watch his mind eat him alive. I know that look. He can't stop seeing the fall. His head shows him everything, always, all the time. It's what makes him good at people and bad at ledges. Can't do it, he says. I'm already measuring the crossing back. 2 trips for me is nothing. I could walk behind him, talk him over, except I don't talk, and right now the wrong word is worse than no word. I shift my weight to go anyway. Bones beats me to it, stands beside Ewen and gives him a bigger fear to lean against, like splinting a cracked bone with a stick. I'm not carrying you, and we're not going back. Brutal sounding, exactly right. The old man read Ewen as easy as I read a slope. That's the moment, if I'm honest. That's the moment I decide about Bones, not the moss, not the marching order. The fact that he knew which medicine my brother needed and gave it to him cold, without enjoying it. Ewen steps out, counts his steps. I can see his lips moving. Halfway his foot skates on grit. And Muley's already there. She went back without anyone sending her, pressed herself between him and the drop. And I let out a breath I didn't know I was keeping. Good dog, best of all of them maybe, and I'd never say it in front of Bud. Ewen makes the far side and sits down in the dirt, holding his dog, saying he hates mountains, and the knot in my chest unties itself slow. I put my hand on his shoulder as I pass. 1 squeeze. He puts his hand over mine for a second. That's the whole conversation. It says everything I'd have botched out loud. Caves by sundown. Bones calls the place Dead Man's Crossing and won't say why, and I don't ask because the why is probably under the scree somewhere and the dead don't mind being unexplained. While George builds the fire, I take Bud up the slope. Rabbit sign everywhere in the failing light, runs through the dry grass, fresh pellets, a warren under a split boulder. Bud freezes, I read him. We work the angle so our scent drags downwind of the runs. The rabbit breaks cover and Bud turns it and it doubles back into my throw, quick and clean. I thank it the way the old men in Blackdown taught me, not out loud, just a thing you hold in your chest for a second before you start the skinning. When I bring it down, the boys make noise about it and I let them. Ewen bumps my shoulder. The almost smile gets out again. It does that more around him. Then Ewen finally pins George down about his feet and it's a small war, and Ewen wins it because Bones backs him without saying a word. Just crouches in front of George with that face, and George folds. I sit across the fire skinning the rabbit and watch my brother learn. Watch his hands go where the old man's hands go. Watch him wrap the second foot himself, getting it right, glowing about it in that way he doesn't know shows. He's going to be somebody who fixes people. I've known it longer than he has. Some dogs herd, some dogs hunt. You can see what a creature is for if you watch it long enough. And I've watched you in my whole life. What am I for? Tonight, rabbit. Tomorrow, the trail. After that, a city with no trails in it, 200,000 strangers, walls inside walls. I don't know what I'm for down there. The thought sits on my chest a while. I let it sit. Thoughts are like weather. You don't argue with them, you just note which way the wind's going and dress for it. Late. Fire down to coals. Bones sits looking at the city lights with old years on his face. Ego prods at it, gets nothing, gives up. Ewen whispers something to Ego across the dark. We're going to be all right. And I hear Ego not believe it and feel better anyway. Ewen does that, spends his own calm on other people like he's got a purse full of it. He doesn't, he just gives it away regardless. George is asleep, properly asleep, feet clean and wrapped. First good sleep in 4 days. The fix was simple. Most fixes are. The hard part's getting people to sit still for them. Bud circles 3 times and drops against my side, and Muley's curled into Ewen, and the other dogs are scattered between the boys like the camp is one animal with many hearts, which by now maybe it is. The wind's still out of the north, dry and cold. Tomorrow it'll push at our backs all the way down the mountain, like the high country is done with us and shoving us out the door toward all that smoke and stone and strangers. Fine. I memorize tonight instead. Rabbit smell on my hands, coals ticking, 4 boys breathing, 6 dogs dreaming, an old man keeping his own watch over a city he won't talk about. Whatever's down there, this comes with us. That's the thing nobody's said out loud yet, so I say it to Bud, quiet, into his fur, the only one I talk to easy. We're already home, it just moves around. He sighs like he already knew. He probably did.